Hey everyone, welcome back to the Above Board podcast, and back by popular demand and special request, TheRichB is with us today. What's up, buddy?
I feel like I'm a guest on my own podcast because I'm never here. I'm an absentee parent, it feels like.
Well, I know. I have to nag you. I have to text you and nag you and invite you. And then you lose the invite link, and then I have to resend it like 4 times.
I don't know. It's like I should pay podcast support every month.
Exactly. By the way, can you hear my lisp? I have my new braces in. Does it sound bad?
No, and you don't need braces. How are you gonna? You're so good looking.
It's about my bite. It's about the health of my teeth.
Just please don't be any better looking. I can't tolerate that. That's annoying.
Nothing can fix my overbite, unfortunately. Yeah. Is what it is.
You have an overbite?
Yeah.
I've never noticed that. Well, it's good to be back. I miss you guys. I mean, I've been working, but I'd like to make sure that I'm here a little bit more regularly, if for nothing else, just because I miss you guys so much.
Me too. Yeah, let's do that. What are we talking about today?
I
made the joke before that I feel like a loose bag of leaves blowing in the wind on our topics. So we were really trying to come up with a good topic today. We had like 15 ideas. I don't think we landed on one.
I think we did. I think we did. I told John that because he said he feels like a loose bag of leaves blowing in the wind. First of all, John, bags of leaves, like the bag usually doesn't blow in the wind. It's usually like on the ground. But I did think that would be a good like mafia name for you. Johnny Bag of Leaves. That would be a good, so that's what your nickname. Okay. I think what we should talk about is a combination of things. I've noticed lately there's been a little bit, I'm on social media a little bit, and I noticed on YouTube, which I have a YouTube channel that's been steadily growing. I've got 2,430 followers on YouTube, which YouTube is very difficult to get followers. It's hard to grow on YouTube. I've noticed that I could post a 2-minute short and get 2,500 views on YouTube. Then I'll post a 4-minute video. So shorts are limited to 3 minutes. I'll post a 4-minute video or even a 3-minute and 45-second video and get 24 views. 2,500, 24. And I realize that people have a very short attention span. And I feel like everybody put their tinfoil hats on. Ready? Join me. Get out the Reynolds wrap. I feel like our society in general is training our world, training us, the powers that be, to have these short attention spans so that we are dumbed down a little bit. The fact that people can't, and I'm not making it about me, I'm making it about anybody because I hear this all over the place. The fact that people want these little sound bites rather than the full story. It's almost like we live in a Cliff Notes world, to date myself completely. For those of you who don't know what Cliff Notes are, I think they still exist. It's when somebody would, back in the day before the internet, would take the summary of a book, its main points, its main characters, Count of Monte Cristo, 700-page book, right? And distill it down to 30 pages. And you could just then write your book report for school or college on that. And
that was like the Chat GPT before Chat GPT was the thing. I might have done that a time or two and then written my book summary based on.
In my mind, I remember seeing them in a bookstore and they were yellow and black. That's how I remember seeing them, like almost like checkerboard, yellow and black. Like I remember seeing them. But I feel
like. Do you remember the books for dummies too?
I have that. I have several of those
books.
They're really good. They're really good. But I feel like we live in the actual dummy version of the actual world. Like the dummies have taken over the world because it feels like that's what it is. And even smart people, I won't throw anybody under the bus, but I'm around a lot of smart people and I've seen smart people scrolling and I'm watching them. And they're not even finishing a 50-second TikTok. Like, I see what she's wearing. She's talking about her purses, flip. It's almost like, and I wonder how someone like a Joe Rogan and all these people that have major podcasts, and Rogan has like 3-hour podcasts and stuff, right? I wonder, I listen to those things and sometimes not all at once, because honestly, I don't have 3 hours where I could sit down and listen to a podcast nonstop. So I usually listen to it in bites. I listen to it in the gym. I listen to it during my drive. I listen to it when I can because I'm working. I can do podcasts on the weekends and at night and stuff like that. But generally speaking, during the week, I'm working. I don't do that. So I know that there's people out there that are consuming this, but that's the one thing. And then coupled with that, I want to talk about this shortcut, whether you want to talk about get rich quick or shortcuts to things, folded into the motivational mindset trap that I think a lot of people get into. That's kind of what I want to talk about. That's what's been on my heart lately.
I do think that there is, I mean, first of all, there's a huge machine working against us between the Facebooks and Instagrams of the world where they are trying to, use these like short circuits in our brain, these quick dopamine hits. We watch a video and you have to like resist against those things pretty hard, and it's kind of difficult to. So I think all of us, myself included, like brain rot is the term now, where it's like you'll go, like I'll take a work break and for 15 minutes I'll scroll and I'm like, what am I doing? Like I snap myself out of it. I'm like, what am I doing? So even people that are like very consciously aware of it, I think succumb to what you're describing. And that is worrisome, right?
It is worrisome because I feel like there's extremes. I know of people who, like, let's talk about the news cycle, for example, just one example. I know people that are in the extremes, right? So there's people that's their whole life. Literally all they do is consume whatever they believe in. Okay, so we'll make it politics. God forbid. I know I tiptoe into that. I mean, you always make somebody mad, so I won't say which side. But you tiptoe into, you politics. You're strongly on one side of something. All that you consume is geared towards that. It supports what you already believe. You're surrounded by people that agree with you. You then spend your life going on X and arguing with people that don't agree with you, trolling people because you're, anonymous. Doing that, you live and breathe it. That's all you do. That's all you know, et cetera, et cetera. You have no other life outside of that. You're pathetic, right? That's all you do. Then on the other side of pathetic, this happened to me in the gym the other day. We were in the gym. There was a guy around my age. Well, who knows? I mean, I look like I can be 100, but I mean.
So he was like 35. This guy was like 35
right.
years old.
There's a guy around my age-ish. I mean, middle-aged guy. Let's just.
Everybody knows how old you are because we did 50 and Fit.
Yeah, that was a long time ago because I'm 58 and falling apart. But now I'm in the gym and like must have been a low-flying Cessna or something flew overhead, and it had that Cessna sound, and everybody just kind of stopped. Could have been a helicopter. Everybody stopped. And I jokingly said, I hope we have some anti-drone stuff out there to take down that Iranian drone. And he looks at me dead serious. He goes, why would there be an Iranian drone here? I go, no, I'm just in reference to like what's going on. He goes, what's going on? What do you mean? I go, the whole like war in Iran. He goes, oh, who's Iran in war? I go, we've attacked Iran to stop their nuclear program. And he was like, oh no, I don't really watch the news. And the guy's wearing
something nice about the bliss that guy probably has.
No, maybe, but is there? Because then is that guy voting? Does he understand the world? Does he have kids? Does he worry about whatever? I'm just saying you could be overly involved or completely uninvolved. We always joke around about, I know nothing about sports, nothing. I never watched sports, nothing. But I still have a vague understanding of, it's March Madness. That means the people that like this, like that. Oh, it's the Super Bowl. Oh, it's the World Series. America beat Canada and got the gold medal. At least that. But it feels like there's that combination of people that are like overly involved in stuff and then completely tuned out. And I wonder if there's maybe in the old days, this is just my thoughts, and maybe I could be wrong. I remember being a little kid, there's like 3 network channels and you got a newspaper. If something major happened, there was breaking news. I remember being with my family because I'm that old and eating dinner or something. And all of a sudden we were watching a TV show on TV. It might've been after dinner. And all of a sudden it says, we interrupt this show to bring you a special ABC bulletin. Elvis Presley has died. And everybody's like, oh my God, my parents are calling their friends, and it was a big deal because he was like a big deal at the time. And now it's like we got that 24-hour news cycle, but we also have the internet, and we have X, and we have Facebook. Like, I'm not on Facebook, but I guess some people are. But I just, there's that. And
you guess some people are.
I don't know.
Everyone is. What are you talking about?
I haven't had a Facebook page since 2017, so I have no Facebook connection. But I just wonder how all of this, how does this all work out in like 10 years, 20 years from now with AI and with, and then it's like
maybe we all go back to like the early 90s and the late 80s, and we're just nice. we revolt against all just of the hairstyles. Let's just bring the technology. Yeah, well, how would that work out for you?
No, for me it wouldn't work out, but smart. But what I would do instead is I would go for the fashion. I think I would go full Wham, like George Michael.
Yeah. Okay.
Like big t-shirts, or like Frankie Goes to Hollywood, like relaxed t-shirts, and big shoulder pads.
Bring shoulder pads back. Bring some shoulder pads back. But I do think go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I don't know. I mean there's got to be some. You mentioned AI too, which is on one hand great in some aspects for how it's helping people save time and efficiency. On the other hand, scary, very scary.
Well, I don't understand that. You're a finance person. Mm-hmm. Like when Elon Musk says, by 2030, you won't have to work and you shouldn't be saving your money and you shouldn't be saving for retirement but my brain goes in another direction. And I think, no, this is going to be like, do you know who and I'm going to say this wrong. Oh gosh. The Luddites. Do you ever hear who the Luddites were? If I said it wrong, you can maybe look it up when I'm talking about it, but I think it's the Luddites. I think in Britain during the Industrial Revolution, there was a group of people that were being replaced by machinery. I think they were called the Luddites, and they attacked and burned and destroyed the machinery because their jobs were being taken away. They might have been miners. I'm making this up. I should have looked this up, but forgive me if I'm wrong, people. Just bear with me. I'm not using AI right now. And this is what happens when you use your own brain in 2026. And I wonder if that's what's going to happen with AI, right? Because, like I just saw, I know my son wants to go to law school, and I saw on Instagram, they were talking about how don't waste your time in law school because in 5 to 10 years, AI is going to replace most of the legal profession. It's going to argue cases. It's going to present stuff to the judge. It's going to, whatever. I don't know if any of that's true, but I don't understand when he says that, because I see the opposite happening. I see people will be out of jobs and not have any money. And then how do they pay for their life? How do they, I hope that I have money. I definitely want a robot. I have always wanted a robot. So, Elon, if you're listening, please, because I know Elon listens to this regularly.
Well, perhaps new job creation will happen as a result of that, though. Maybe we just can't even see it yet or know. You think about the car replacing the horse, and everybody who tended to horses and took care of them now became mechanics when that happened. I think that there is just potentially a shift in the economics of how things work. I can't pretend to know exactly how it'll happen.
I don't think anybody, it's just confusing to me. Like he says, nobody's going to have to work. Everybody will be able to just pursue their interests. But I'm saying then how do you eat? How do you pay for your house? Things have to be paid for. Even if you have robots doing house repairs, like somebody runs the plumbing company of robots that come to your house to fix your sink.
Yeah.
So you'd have to pay that company, but then where do you get, I don't know if that turns into what's that called, where UBL, what is it called? National income, or everybody gets paid money every, what's it called? It is called, so it's like socialism, but there's a minimum, there's a term they use all the time, and I'm completely pulling a blank. Something income, where everybody gets a certain amount of money. Because
I think that utopian world of those things sound great, but I don't know how that actually works. Scary. But I think was it Bezos that said that, or whoever said that?
Elon talks about it.
Elon, yeah.
They're all talking about it.
I think that does sound great. But I also think there's the spirit of the folks who are willing to work hard and find a way.
Yeah.
And I look at my industry as a good example. you can certainly ask AI financial related questions. I mean, that's kind of table stakes. That's easy to do. But the ability to bring in and tie in all of the elements of your financial life and understand the intricacies of how is this, Social Security going to impact your taxes and the ripple effect of that to your portfolio. Like there still needs to be somebody to kind of like orchestrate and conduct that orchestra of all the different things of your financial life. And I feel like Matt and I talk about this a lot. Like we feel like we're in a good position in our careers based on age as well, where everybody above us in this industry is retiring or saying like, I'm done with this. I'm tired of learning every 5 years, these new tech things come out. Now it's AI and they're going to retire and be done with this.
Those darn calculators, they messed up everything.
Yeah. And then, the generation beneath us, I mean, I think there's every generation, I'm a millennial, but every generation likes to give the next generation a hard time. But with the exception of my team and some people I know, it does seem like, an early 20-year-old, something-year-old is like very afraid to come out and have a conversation and interact and look people in the eye. And so like that skill is so important to have in a world where I don't feel like we're doing things to promote and cultivate and harness that skill. So everything you just opened with in this podcast it leads to that. Like we do virtual, all these college institutions, it's all virtual these days. The lectures are pre-recorded. You can watch them on 1.5 speed. You can speed through it. And then you're being tested on your memorization of facts, which that in and of itself feels relatively useless, actually, with AI and the fact that we can, at our fingertips, research anything. But yet the ability to go up and present like you do, Rich, or, speak in front of an audience or give compelling facts and reasoning like a lawyer might do in a big case. Like I think those very humanized elements of what people can do, maybe it's their emotional intelligence or whatever. I think that becomes even more important of a skill in the world that we are in today. And we're in this big machine of virtual lectures and pre-recorded things and listening to stuff on 2.0 speed. And if it's less than 5 minutes, our brain turns it off. We don't, our dopamine reward system is, let me go to Instagram and watch a 30-second reel.
It's funny because what I'm thinking about when you're saying that, when you see all these life hacks on social media, which is so weird because hacks always had a negative connotation back in the day, right? You were a hack, which means, oh, by the way, it's UBI, Universal Basic Income. It came to me, where everybody is guaranteed a basic income because robots are doing all of the work anyway, and those companies are making money. So to replace the workers, it's everybody, you can work and you can make more money and you can do what you want, but everybody's guaranteed a universal basic income. So it's sort of like some countries kind of do that. I think some of the oil-rich companies in the Middle East, they provide a stipend. I think even Alaska used to do that when they would make oil. Like every citizen, everybody that was a citizen of the state that paid taxes in Alaska would get a dollar amount or something. But anyway, I always think about hacks, and they talk about like life hacks and health hacks, and I'm a biohacker, and all of that talks about shortcuts. And I wonder if everybody is so fixated on the shortcut that they're missing out on the journey, because the shortcut maybe is good for some things when you got to get someplace quicker. If I had cancer, I would want a shortcut to the cure, 100%. If I was out of work, I would want a shortcut to a new job. If I wanted to visit you and Jackie on vacation, and I had a limited time and I had 3 roads to go, and one of them was a shortcut and was going to get me there a half a day earlier, I'd want the shortcut, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I wonder if, to what you're saying, that our society is pushing so much of the hacks and the shortcuts that they're missing out on what develops people and relationships and friendships. I mean, they talk about the loneliness epidemic, and I feel it. Because of my work life, I don't have that many friends. I have very, very, very small circle. I have very good friends. I've got people that I love very much, but I feel like even my life, there's times that I'm having a hard time or whatever, and I look at my phone or I text somebody, and I don't have that community that I think we had 30 years ago, where it felt more. I see that with Luke, my son. I see that he has some really cool friends and stuff like that. But like, I even see it when he talks about his friends and folks, and I say, oh, so what's so and so doing when they graduate? I don't really know. Well, what do you mean you don't know? Like, don't you guys talk about? Yeah, like people, I like to talk about that stuff, but like people don't really like talking about going to college or what they're doing, or so what do you guys talk about? And it's like, he kind of told me, and it's not what I used to talk about. I mean, yeah, you're a millennial, and you're probably one of the last generations of the interactive. Of course you had the technology stuff, but it wasn't your whole life. I just worry.
Well, I grew up without the internet and then with the internet.
Yeah. And I mean,
so
I grew up without it, but I used it. Yeah. I mean, I think it's so interesting to me. And that ties into, and I mean, and we're a little all over the place, but I guess they're all kind of connected, that it's almost like people are so desperate to feel better, then they go to motivational content, because I know that's what I put on my social media for YouTube. And I love that. But when I consume other people's stuff about that, I see there's so much of it out there. But I think Mark Manson talked about this, that people can, and it might have been Tony Robbins too, that people consume it. They get the dopamine rush of, oh, I'm watching this thing on law of attraction, or, maybe it's religious stuff. I'm learning about the Bible, or I'm feeling good about this, or I'm learning about, journaling hacks and how to use my journal better. And they get the dopamine rush of experiencing that, but then they actually don't participate in it. It's very much like the guy with the, out of shape, unhealthy dude that watches sports all day, and he's watching these super fit Uber athletes playing a sport. You're not. You're super fit. Shut up. But they watch these super fit athletes doing a sport, and in their brain, it's like they're in a virtual reality world where they're doing that sport, but they can't run to the refrigerator. So I feel like that's the same thing with business hacks and leadership hacks and motivation and all of that stuff, that people get the rush of reading the book and the rush of watching the video and the rush of the seminar, but they don't do the stuff. So it's just like watching a sport, but you don't do anything.
Yeah, two thoughts that I want to talk about based on what you said. I think number one, hacks have been around for as long as you and I have been around. Yeah. I mean, like, you think about, go back to the 80s, and there were probably discs on tape that you could listen to in the car about get rich quick schemes.
It was just tapes on tape. There was no discs.
Tapes on tape. Okay, sorry. You know what I meant.
What a millennial, discs on tape. Oh my God.
You know what I meant. Yes, did you put a did you ever have an 8-track player?
I had that when I was my brothers had 8-track, so I was post 8-track, although I did listen to them. But I distinctly remember, and I own this and I love them, I bought Tony Robbins' entire cassette set, all the cassettes for the whole program, and I would listen to them driving to work and listen to them at night. I had the whole, I wish I still had it, but I had all his cassettes. So
tapes on tape. You had tapes on tape.
I had tape.
My parents had those too, and I remember, I remember as a kid listening to those. But my point was, I feel like there were, back then it was get rich quick. It was join a multi-level marketing. You can be these things have always existed.
Invest with Bernie Madoff.
Oh God, yeah. And so, and I'm using money because that's the world I know. But going back to that, it's like everybody even now wants. We have yourmoneystory.app. We have this money course, and it's like the whole first part of the money course is your money personality and how to manage a budget. Yeah. And everybody wants to fast forward and go to the last videos where it talks about, what you should be investing in and what you fund and all that. Like, how can I turn a dollar into $100 when in reality, you are your greatest asset. The work that you deploy to build your wealth and become financially independent largely is based on the efforts that you put forth, not just grabbing a cryptocurrency and hitting pay dirt on it. That doesn't really happen yet for as long as I can think of. Get rich quick schemes have existed forever. So it makes sense to me now when you fast forward to today's world where it's with AI and all this other stuff, it's biohacking, and the word hacking as you kind of described it. So I just want to acknowledge that. I feel like it's new but it's not really that.
I
It's just changed form.
I don't know. I don't think it's new. What I think is it's more prevalent, and I think it's has the ability to become more embedded in our society because we did not have the means of transportation of the information in the past that we have now.
Yes.
There's a small story can become, we use the term viral, right? A video can go viral. A story, some kid can do a video doing a funny voice, and that becomes super, like the whole 6-7 thing that all the kids were doing. That was some kid that did it. I think the history of it was at some game and he did that, and then it just went to the extreme, and then a rapper, I don't know, wherever it came from. But things like that weren't, it took so much longer for things to become part of society or part of culture back in the day. Even if you think back in the day of things like, Elvis or the Beatles, or, if you go back to pre-internet and pre all that kind of stuff, it took so much more time. So I think now I don't know, like I said, before you got your newspaper, you read it in the morning, and then I think there was an evening newspaper, but I don't remember for sure. But I know there was a morning newspaper that always came out to people because I used to be a paper boy, so I would deliver them. And then you'd watch like the 6 p.m. news, and I think there was an 11 o'clock news. But then between 11 and 6 a.m., you were with your family or you were asleep, or you're playing cards or something. I don't know. I just think that there's something that's going on in our society where people are becoming more and more disconnected. I read this whole thing about Japan and how to keep this family friendly, there's not as many relationships. Young people are choosing not to be with other people, that they're living alone.
I heard the same. I read the same thing.
Yeah. And
I know exactly what you're talking about.
They're having a hard time because their society is aging out, but way quicker than ours, by far. And a lot of that, I haven't been to Japan. Luke and I are hopefully going next year. That's his high school graduation thing that he's wanted since he was 7 years old. But what I've heard is that because they're so technologically advanced, like whatever technology we're using, they're always like a little ahead of us, and it's just the culture there. But I don't know. I worry about that a little bit around us. It just seems to be, the shortcut thing and shortcut life and hack life and all this kind of stuff. I don't know. It's so weird because there's such a mix of things. And let me just layer this and make it even more confusing. A lot of the stuff that we're seeing is completely fake, right? So the person that's preaching the get rich stuff and he's standing in front of his Lambo in Miami doesn't own the Lambo, isn't rich, doesn't own the condo he's posing in Miami. It's his friend. But the 16-year-olds that are paying $19.99 a month to have this guy coach them, they don't know that. Yeah. So I don't know. It's just the shyster hack stuff is... It's just more accessible than it used to be. I think before you had to actually, using Tony Robbins, who I don't think is a shyster, but you had to physically buy those tapes and listen to them on your own. And then you had to physically go to his conferences and walk on the hot coals, right? Now you can sit in your bedroom and watch hours of quote unquote, I'm making air quotes with my hand, motivational stuff. I actually sent something to Matt yesterday, just like as an interesting. I'm seeing all these videos now popping up and articles, how to invest in SpaceX before the IPO. And there's some ETF that does. And I said, what is this? Like, I was just asking him because I thought it was interesting. So I don't know. I know we're a little all over the place with this. I think it's just a combination of, I think so many things are happening and you wonder why. Is there a weird like agenda from the Mantis Lords that are controlling the secret societies? I don't know how much tinfoil hat we should go, but what is it? It's people are disconnected. They want shortcuts to everything. We have the dopamine rush and the hits. I don't know. It's very strange out there right now. You know, people are either overly involved in everything or don't know anything.
This is why we're going to go back to the late 80s and early 90s, man. This is what I want. What I was going to mention, the second point, and then you brought it up, and it was a good segue to it. The irony that we could be as connected, like our community could be as large as ever, and yet they're as small as they've ever been. You were telling a story about like the conversations your son has with his friends, and you're like, this is crazy. Like, you know, it doesn't seem like deep at all. I'm assuming that's where you're kind of going with it. Like, they don't have like these really deep friendships. It's like
some of them
and that irony is not lost on me, that like, you know, we could be friends with somebody across the globe. We can know the news that's happening in real time in a completely different country than our own.
Yeah.
So the flow of information, the ability to be connected. I mean, I remember being a kid and like you had to, you know, call people on the weekends. Like when, you know, if you wanted to like call a family member that didn't live in your same state, because you had minutes, you paid per minute for long distance phone calls. You remember that, of course.
Yeah, of course.
And so like now it's just like you can send a text message or do a video call with somebody across the globe in an instant. And the irony that all of this is available,
and yet we're farther apart.
We feel more disconnected than ever. And they say that like your biology isn't, your brain isn't really able to digest all of this information. You know, things that are happening. We live here in Florida. Things that are happening in California, news events that are happening in Canada or in Africa or in Iran or where, like all this, your brain isn't really meant. It's hard to bring and absorb all of this information in this 24/7, 365 news cycle that we live in. And so I think people are kind of starting to go back to their local communities and like what, and honestly, like when you were telling me that story about the guy at the gym, I thought, oh man, not, you know, the blissful satisfaction of just maybe that guy's focused on his fitness, his faith, and his family. And those are the only three things that he's caring about right now. And good for him. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, it's a complete like opposite of maybe what you would have expected me to say or think. But I feel like
I can see
we're
that.
reverting to those.
I can see that. I think it's the extremes, right? I don't want to know about anything. I'm just gonna be in my own world. I think is as dangerous as I know about every detail of everything that's going on, and I sleep 3 hours a day and I scroll nonstop, and you know, I could fight with you about, you know, I was on social media and there was some interview with Sammy Hagar, and he made a comment about, you know, he's bitter. You can tell he's bitter about the whole, how he's kind of being left out of the Van Halen. You know, he replaced David Lee Roth, and then Van Halen became kind of more pop, and then they had a falling out, and then David Lee Roth, whatever. But he made some comment about how it was a dig at David Lee Roth, the original singer, and how he believes that David Lee Roth watched Sammy Hagar's original band Montrose, and that was an influence on David Lee Roth, which is sort of, to me, ridiculous. But it's just, he's always making these digs, and I commented on that. And it wasn't even like an attacking comment. It was like I said, I find it very difficult to believe that David Lee Roth, who was heavily influenced by Motown and was such an, you know, flamboyant, you know, over the top guy, was influenced by Montrose, who most people have never even heard of, whereas Van Halen was one of the most influential rock bands. Like every band, Motley Crue, Poison, Guns N' Roses, they were all kind of came under that umbrella. And it was like then all of a sudden the response is like, some people, like one person was like, well, you seem to know everything since you wrote this in all caps and took the extra time to write it in all caps. And I'm like, I think I responded something like, it actually doesn't take you very much extra time to write things in all caps. You know, it's just, but people, it's so funny because that's our level of, you know, engagement with people. Yeah. It's just weird to me. And it's like, even that, you know, I think about us as couples, and we haven't done it in a few months, but when we all get together and do like our game night thing, it's so much fun, but you can tell that none of us do it that much because it's sort of like somebody who never gets to go out and then when they go out on New Year's Eve, they just overdo it to the extreme because they just never do anything. And like when we're all there, we're everybody's talking at once. It's so super loud. Like my iPhone watch, my Apple Watch will actually go off and say you're in a dangerously loud environment. Not in a bad way. Everybody's
You're at a concert.
But everybody's just so excited.
No, it's just 12 of us talking.
Yeah, it's not even that much. It's you guys and Matt and his wife and Wes and all our friends, and it's I always, when I leave there, I always say to Dawn, that was so much fun, because we don't do that much. People don't do that much, to your point. But maybe, it's, I don't know. It's funny. Here I am, somebody that goes on social media and does like motivational content, kind of making fun of it or calling it out. But I don't know. It just feels to me that there's this weird layering of things setting people up to be more lonely, more disconnected, more angry with each other. And it's, as a guy that's, I'm going to turn 59 in June. It's my last year in my 50s. And it's the first time I think, I maybe I feel more aware of this because this is the age that my dad was when he died. So I've always had this haunting feeling of 59. Like 59's always freaked me out because I think in my mind, like, that's when you die, which I know that's not true and it's silly. It's framed in what happened in my own experience with my dad. And I think it's just made me more aware of mortality and the world and relationships and people and wanting to have more closeness and wanting to have more connection and that maybe shortcuts are good for some things, but that shortcuts do deprive you a little bit of the journey. They do. I mean, they just do. I mean, that's a fact. I mean, you might get to the result quicker, but it seems like our society is so geared to the result that it's leaving off the journey, and you don't learn from the result, you learn from the journey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like you were saying at the beginning of this, like I like shortcuts for certain things.
Yeah.
If I know if I'm going to get there a half a day sooner by doing XYZ or taking a direct flight instead of, taking connecting flights, like, yeah, I'm going to probably take that opportunity to do that.
Something to be said about the scenic route too. I mean, that's, I remember one time I was in not to interrupt your thought, but to your point, yes. I mean, logically, like flight stuff, yeah, you're not missing that much, right? But I remember when I was in California one time and I had to drive, it doesn't matter where, because I can't remember where, but it was from one city to another. And the person said to me, you could take this road, which will be much quicker, or you could take the Pacific Coast Highway. It's going to add about 45 minutes to your drive, but bro, it's beautiful. And I happen to have gotten upgraded to a convertible Camaro. And I chose the Pacific Coast Highway. And I put the top down and it was beautiful. And yes, it added 45 minutes to my trip. Yes, I had a little bit less sleep. Yes, I got into the hotel a little bit later, but I'm so glad that I didn't take the freeway. And I just remember being so cold with the top down because it had gotten so cold, but I didn't want to put the top up because I was all by myself and I just felt so like, this is the coolest. I'm on the Pacific Coast Highway. I'm seeing the ocean. I'm seeing these beautiful mansions. I think I remember driving through Malibu, but I could be making that up. But just, it was so beautiful. And I remember that, but I would never have remembered driving on the 103 or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Yes, there is definitely shortcuts come in handy. Like we said, you want to have a longer vacation. You want to get to your cure quicker, all that kind of stuff. But
the example, like the example you used, I think most people, as long as they had the extra time to spare, would choose that. We're talking about shortcuts and hacks for things that look and feel difficult already. Yeah. And that's the reality, is like most of it is centered around the things that are hard and difficult to do. And frankly, the things that are hard and difficult to do, like, are hard and difficult to do for a reason. Like, yeah, I mean, you can shortcut, for example, you as like a mentor of mine, like I feel like I've gotten to shortcut things as a result of talking with you and having side conversations, whether it's on the podcast or not on the podcast, but like life lessons that I can learn from you and through you so that I can go like apply that to my own life, whether that's raising kids. Your kids are just older than mine, to the point where like you've experienced all the things that I'm already experiencing with my kids that are now 6 and 9. So in that aspect, like I've got a lot of life lessons to learn from you, and that's great. But there are things in life that are just hard and difficult to, I mean, I use like work life, or your finances. Like a lot of it is, you got to work hard, you got to save. And you know what? Saving, sometimes you save so much that it hurts. Saving money hurts, because what you're doing is you're quite literally doing the opposite of shortcutting. You are sacrificing today by taking this pile of money, maybe 10 or 20% of what you earn, and you're putting it away so that it can be used later and it can grow and be a bigger number later in life. And that hurts. That is painful. I had a friend describe that to me once and said that my husband and I saved so much that it hurt. And I was like, what do you mean by that? And like, just the things that we had to sacrifice, the things that we had to forego, especially with raising kids, that we wanted to do that everybody else around us did, but we didn't do. And guess what? Now they are financially independent and they have a significant net worth. And there was no shortcut to that. I mean, yeah, there was, I guess, like if you had captured Bitcoin, if you had bought a bunch of Bitcoin back in 2013, you'd be a millionaire now. But I think for every one of those, there's 1,000 of those that fail.
Right. And there's a fine line between a shortcut and a lesson. You know, if you have a mentor like you, and I'm flattered that you think of me in that way, but if you and I have a conversation and I'm able to help you understand something that I've been through to reduce your suffering, and you can do it a little differently, I wouldn't look at that as a shortcut, because you're still now going to have to put the work in. You're just going to work a little wiser and work a little smarter. I think true shortcuts, again, nothing wrong with them. But I think when your life pursuit is always about getting there first and getting there fast in everything, then maybe I know a person who I feel like was always getting there first and getting there fast. And when I look back at this person's life, their kids are not talking to them at all anymore. They have no relationship with their kids. They have a very, very weird and unhealthy marriage. They've isolated a lot of people around them and made a lot of people angry. But yet I know for a fact that they have a decent amount of money and they're okay in that kind of way. And when I look back over the span of their life, I can remember being with them at events and gatherings and things that were related to their kids, but I never felt that they were truly present, because they were always on their phone or looking to do the next deal, or I'll be right back. I have to take this call. And it was the 80s version of hacking, right? They were hustling. Maybe it's more hustle than hacking. I don't know what you want to call it. But I guess every generation, maybe the folks, the older generations where they just had to work to survive, there wasn't a lot of time for recreation. Then there was the generations where they were working to become rich because of lifestyles of the rich and famous was so popular that they just didn't make time for the meaningful things. Then there's now where there's so much distraction and entertainment that people are missing out on meaning because they've got all this other stuff in there. You know what I wonder, John, with all that I'm just saying, like there's a fish. I don't know if it's in Chile or somewhere, Malaysia, but this fish that something happened and all these fish were introduced into this like cave system. And over years, the fish, they thought that these fish were they were dumping them in these caves or whatever, these water caves. And instead of dying, the fish thrived. And now they've morphed into like having no eyes and no pigmentation. So like now they're these like sort of monster version of what they used to be. They can't see, they're in the dark, and they have no pigmentation because they never see the sun, they never see the light and all this kind of stuff. And I wonder if that's the risk that people that are always with their heads in their phones, I wonder if our, 1,000 years from now or 500 years from now, they're going to dig up bones from the next, generations or so, and the necks are all kyphotic and bent over from looking at their phones, and the brain is a different shape. It just, I don't know, man.
We're all going to be blind and pale.
We're all going to be blind and pale, right?
This is what I'm saying. I'm ready to go back to the 80s and 90s. You know, we'll have a car phone. I don't need social media on my.
Let's go play
at my
Dungeons and
fingertips.
Dragons. I want to play Dungeons and Dragons with some guy with like 7 books, and we all sit around rolling dice and laughing. But
yeah, go have a picnic. Go outside and play with your kids.
I mean, maybe
play card games.
Maybe that's the message of this silly conversation.
I think it's become it's what I've learned.
Yeah,
I'm ready. I'm not on, like, I know you're not on Facebook. I mean, I'm on social media, but you know, I so infrequently share anything outside of like work, you know, our work pages and whatnot. I so infrequently share anything, and you know, I'm trying to go to it less and less because I just think that dependency of that dopamine hit. You know, they say like it's very dangerous to receive a dopamine to receive like that satisfaction of the dopamine hit without earning it. It's very dangerous for our psychology and for our minds to, and that makes so much sense, right? Because like if I go get a hard workout in and I've earned it and I'm riding that high for the next half of the day or the whole day because I did the hard thing first thing in the morning, that's a well-earned dopamine hit.
Think about a
cigarette or I go
think about steroids, right? You're shortcutting, you're flooding your body with all of this stuff so that you get these massive muscles that normally you'd have to work really much harder for. Not saying that people that take steroids don't work hard. I've seen people in the gym who are definitely on steroids and they're definitely working out hard. You could take steroids and not work out and not get anything. You could take steroids, work out half as much as I work out and you work out and make twice the gains. You could take steroids and work out like crazy, but then, you know, your body's not meant to have that level of, to your point, what you said is a perfect example. Your body's not meant to have that level of speed up, which is why those people end up, you see all these stories about 28-year-old bodybuilder has a heart attack, 29-year-old bodybuilder dead, 28-year-old body, you know, all the time. And to your point, that's what dopamine's not only not good for your psychology, it's not good for your physiology.
Yeah.
It's not good for your nervous system, you know, and that's why, like, even, you know, back to the other thing where people are seeking certain things that create dopamine over relationships, you know, that's not good either. So I think that's a great point. I wonder if to wrap this up, I wonder if it's just the message should be, if not balance, awareness in our lives. Like, make the phone call to somebody over the text. Go drop by somebody's house. Say, hey, let's go out to lunch and go. It's like when you and Luke had Chipotle a couple weeks back. You know, you guys could have just texted back and forth, but he wanted to spend time with you and you wanted to spend time with him. And he went to Chipotle with you and he didn't share a lot of what your conversation was, but he just told me, you know, I had a really good time with Uncle Johnny. We sat, we talked, and that was exciting for him. He loved that. So I think we need more of that. I think more people should take me to Chipotle, to be honest with you. I'm ready.
Well, you have to pick me. You have to give me the Luke treatment. I mean, he picked me up.
He
drove. I mean, this is the same boy that I've known since he was 4 years old. So it was really weird for him to pick me up and then drive me. I wouldn't let him pay. He tried to pay. I wouldn't let him pay.
That was nice of you.
But if you try to pay, I'll let you pay.
I know you would. Well, I'm glad that we were able to have this conversation. I mean, again,
take us home, buddy. This was a fun one. Let's do it again soon.
Yep. I feel like, you know, anybody that's listening to this, obviously it's such a dichotomy, right? You just listen to what technically could be social media content and consumed it. But it would be really cool. I'll leave this. I saw something on Andrew Huberman, so I was consuming content, and a guy was talking about meditation. And he said that 5 minutes of meditation a day, if you did it for 30 days, it reduces depression, anxiety, and actually changes the neural pathways, the actual neural pathways in your brain.
All right, I'm gonna do it. I keep talking about doing it.
But 5 minutes, man. Like I'm just saying, everybody, when you're done with this, if you get somewhere and you're parking your car, you turn this off and you're getting ready to make dinner, getting ready to pack lunches, or getting ready to go on a project or whatever it is that you're gonna do. If you've set a timer on your phone for 5 minutes, I'm gonna do this. When I hang out with John, I'm gonna set my timer for 5 minutes. I'm gonna sit still. I'm gonna listen to my breathing, and I'm gonna focus on what I'm grateful for. Nothing else. Just do something. Go for a walk outside. Go to the gym, call your mom, call your dad, call your sister, write your kids a sweet note, put it in their lunchbox, tell your significant other you care about them, just do something. I think our society needs more doing and less watching.
Yeah, and do something that serves your community and you know, that serves you, and that's a good thing.
Why not? All right. Well, listen, we appreciate you all being here on the Above Board podcast, and I'm looking forward to being back here more often. And I miss you all, and I miss John, and we wish you an absolutely amazing, natural, hack-free, dopamine-filled day. You have a good one, and thanks for being here.